Okay, I have done some more work with the crossbow. I have covered every side with 10 layers of red paper, 10 layers on each side. Also, I narrowed this part a little bit so that only this space for the trigger fit in. It looks a lot nicer. You cannot see all that newspaper. And also, after covering all the sides with hard paper, the edges were like, they didn't look very neat because I stuck hard paper like this and I stuck hard paper like this. These corners did not look very neat. So what I did was I took pieces of this kitchen roll tissue paper and I just stuck it over all the edges with a mixture of glue and water. So you just put the piece of tissue paper on, dip your brush in the mixture, and then just start dabbing the brush on. The tissue is so thin that the water will seep through the tissue and the glue will also seep through along with the water, since it's a mixture and it sticks the tissue paper on. Then all the water evaporates and then you're left with dry tissue paper, and that reasonably covered all the gaps. And also one very big change I made was I'm not using those sticks anymore, and I put 2 screws. That was because I tried to use the sticks, but when I added force on the nut, the sticks broke, so I'm using screws instead. Now all that is left is I have to make the top sight block and I have to make the railing, and then we should be done with this. Okay, I have made the sight block that will be going on the stock over here, and this is what the full piece looks like, and it will go on over here. I also had to make sure that the nut can rotate freely. So how I made this was very simple. First, you just keep putting many layers of cardboard, and you make a block of cardboard like this, and you just cover up the sides with paper. Then I took a piece of 8 layers like this and I just covered it on, and I left enough gap so that there is enough space for this piece to go through it. And then I just glued it onto this piece over here. Now it fits quite well, and only thing is this end is not sealed and it comes out. It should not come out from this end like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece of hard paper and I'm gonna just stick it on the back like this, and then I should be done with this part. Then before I attach it here, I just need to make the rails. Then I can make the arrow holding device, and then I can just glue this on, and then we should be done. Okay, I have now completely finished making the stock. I made the railings. What I did was I just glued 2 pieces of cardboard. I super glued it, and then I put a piece of newspaper. I stuck it with a mixture of water and glue. Then with some normal glue I just stuck these pieces of paper, and that made my rails. And now the bolt can easily slide over them, and it easily slides into the groove. I also glued this block on. And one thing about this surface is, the surface is kind of curved like that, so there were a lot of gaps. So what I did was, I just took a little bit of tissue paper. I took the piece of tissue like this, and I just turned it into a roll. Like that. Then I soaked it in glue, and then I just put it on each side here. One back there, one over here, and also one on the front. And that covered up all the sides. And then I made this arrow holding device. What I did was, I just took 16 layers of, I just made 16 layers of paper, and before it dried I just bent it into my desired shape, and then once it dried it just stays like that. And now, so this piece can just go in, and it sits pretty good, and it also holds the bolt. And the bolt also slides into the groove, and it holds the bolt down. Like, it won't fall off. You can even hold it upside down, doesn't fall off. So the stock, I've completely finished making the stock. Now all I have to do is make the rod, and this one is also going to be powered by rubber bands. Once I make the rod, I think I'll be ready for paint.